Welcome back to the Wealthy Good Life podcast. We're going deep into entrepreneurship today, um, what it really takes to make it,
Right.
and how to build that entrepreneurial spirit, whether you're starting up or just want to do better in your career, right?
It's interesting, isn't it? We think of entrepreneurship as just starting a business, but it's a whole way of thinking, like a mix of creativity and resilience and that drive to solve problems.
Totally. And I thought it was really cool how Thomas Edison's accountant, he saw a chance and founded Walsh College, and they've got entrepreneurship built right in, even a BBA program. Talk about spotting a need and making something amazing.
Yeah, it shows you can use entrepreneurial thinking anywhere. You don't got to start a company, right? It's about seeing possibilities when others see roadblocks.
Okay, so let's break down these key traits for success. We hear discipline, frugality, self-confidence, but how does frugality work when you got to invest to grow?
That's a good question. It's a balance for sure. Frugality early on is being resourceful, making the most of what you got, avoiding unnecessary costs. Doesn't mean you can't invest smart when the time's right.
So being clever with resources, knowing when to hold back, when to go for it.
Exactly. Making good decisions, prioritizing what matches your long-term plan.
Now, honesty and integrity really stood out to me. Why is that so important, especially in this fast-paced world?
Well, building a business is relationships, right? You're always dealing with customers, investors, partners, your team. Honesty and integrity that build trust. And trust it's the base of any successful thing.
Makes sense. People back someone they believe in, someone reliable.
For sure. Think about it. Would you do business with someone shady, cutting corners, or someone honest and ethical?
Honest, for sure. And speaking of relationships, communication's key. It's not just talking, it's really listening, understanding, like your customers, team, everyone.
Yeah, totally. You got to explain your vision, get investors on board, inspire your team. But just as important is listening to feedback, seeing other viewpoints, changing your approach.
So we've got discipline, frugality, honesty, communication.
Yeah.
What about the less exciting stuff? Record keeping, motivation, being flexible.
The behind the scenes heroes,
Yeah.
good records. That means your finances are good and you're legal, on the up and up.
Easy to miss when you're juggling everything else.
It's a challenge, but vital. And then motivation. Your own boss, that's freedom, but you need self-discipline, drive to stay focused, productive.
Like an internal engine that keeps you running, especially when it gets tough. What about flexibility? Why is that so important?
Well, things change fast, right? You got to adapt to new problems, grab unexpected chances, change your strategy if needed.
So not just plan A, but maybe plan B, C, even D
Yeah,
on the fly.
exactly. And being okay with that uncertainty, that's a big part of it.
We've talked about the practical side a lot, but what about the emotional side of entrepreneurship?
That's key. It can be a roller coaster, right?
Uh-huh.
High stakes, pressure, the risk of failing.
Which brings us to public failure, something we don't talk about enough, but it seems like accepting failure, it's part of growing.
You got it. Look at Henry Ford. Two big public business flops before Ford Motor Company.
Wow, can you imagine the toughness to come back from that? Not one, but two times.
It shows that setbacks happen. It's what you do next that matters. And speaking of responding to those setbacks, execution. The best idea in the world, if you can't make it work, it's nothing.
So execution, that's where the ideas becomes reality.
Exactly. It's turning those brilliant ideas into action, results you can see.
For more on turning your dreams into reality, head over to wealthygoodlife.com. We'll be back in a bit to keep exploring the ups and downs, the whole journey.
We were talking about Thomas Edison, and his story is all about execution. He said, genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. Like, he failed thousands of times with that light bulb before he got it right. That's grit, real determination.
It reminds you, it's okay to try things, to experiment, to mess up and learn along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of learning, market research, that's so important. It's about really knowing who you're selling to, not guessing what they want.
So how do you do good market research? I hear about qualitative, quantitative, but what's that actually mean?
Good question. Qualitative research is like getting inside your customers' heads, talking to them directly. Interviews, focus groups, and really listening to what they say, their needs, what's frustrating them.
So it's like those real conversations, getting those firsthand insights,
Right,
right?
exactly. Then you got quantitative research, that's more numbers, trends, the big picture,
Mm.
surveys, data, looking at market trends, like how big is your market, who's the competition.
So you need both, right? Like you talk to people, but you also check the numbers to see if your ideas are right.
Exactly. It's about proving your ideas with real feedback and hard data. That's how you avoid those big mistakes and make sure you're building something people want, something they'll pay for.
Something that struck me uh, prepping for this entrepreneurship is it's basically a sales job. How come?
It sounds weird, but think about it. You're always selling. Your vision to investors, your product to customers, your company culture to people you want to hire.
So even if you're not in sales, you got to be persuasive, right?
Absolutely. Even Google, they have those crazy algorithms, but they still have tons of salespeople. Why? Because even with a great product, you got to explain it, build relationships, close those deals.
It shows how important it is to connect with people, to get what they need and explain how you can help.
Right. And speaking of connecting, don't forget building a team. It's not a solo mission, right?
Yeah, you need support, people who believe in you, who'll go the extra mile with you.
Thomas Edison's mom, she's a great example. She was his biggest fan, she made him believe in himself. That kind of support, it's everything, especially when you hit those bumps in the road or you start doubting yourself.
Like having your own cheerleaders, pushing you on, reminding you got this. We've talked about the good stuff a lot, but let's be real. There are tough parts too, right?
Of course. And some of the hardest ones are the ones we don't talk about much. We talked about failing publicly, but there's struggles inside too, stuff entrepreneurs deal with behind the scenes.
Like what are some of those hidden challenges?
Well, setting boundaries, that's a big one. It's hard to turn off work, and that can hurt relationships, your health, your whole life.
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked in, to feel like you got to work all the time to succeed.
It's a trap. That's why you got to find that balance, work and life. Make time for yourself, your family, things that make you happy, give you energy.
Makes sense. Got to step away sometimes, get perspective, avoid burnout.
Yeah.
Right. What else is tough?
Keeping things in perspective, that's tough too. When you're so into your vision, it's easy to get tunnel vision, lose sight of the big picture.
You're living it, breathing it, hard to step back and see it clearly.
Right. And then managing success. Even when things are good, you can mess it up if you're not careful.
How so?
Success, it brings attention, pressure, temptation. Got to stay grounded, remember what's important, not let it go to your head.
So stay true to yourself, keep your integrity, remember why you started in the first place.
Yeah. It's about balance, ambition, and humility. Pushing yourself to do great things, but also staying connected to what really matters.
Speaking of what matters, let's talk about the good stuff, the rewards. What makes all this hard work worthwhile?
A lot of entrepreneurs, it's the freedom, being your own boss. You make the calls, you chase your dreams on your own terms.
There's something powerful about building something from nothing, seeing it come to life, knowing you're in control.
And the personal growth, that's huge. You're always learning, developing skills, getting out of your comfort zone, turning challenges into opportunities.
You're constantly changing professionally, personally, pushing your limits, finding out you can do things you never thought you could.
Scott Galloway, he told a story about a trip with his dad who was getting older. And it showed him, in a weird way, the good things about caregiving.
Interesting. What does caregiving have to do with entrepreneurship? They seem pretty different.
Yeah, at first, but he connected it to finding your purpose. Entrepreneurship, it's tough, but it's really satisfying when it's lined up with your values and you're making a difference.
So it's bigger than just the business. It's
Yeah.
about building a life you love, something that reflects you, something that makes the world better.
Exactly. It's about that sweet spot where your passion, your skills, and what the world needs all come together.
That's a great thought. Brings us back to, are you an entrepreneur?
It's not a yes or no, right? It's about you, your strengths, weaknesses, how you feel about risk, and most importantly, what drives you.
So what gets you going? What are you passionate about? What kind of mark do you want to leave on the world?
Entrepreneurship's not for everyone, but for those who take on the challenges and appreciate the rewards, it can be amazing. A journey, you discover yourself, you innovate, you learn to bounce back.
Before we wrap up this part, a quick reminder, you can find more about building a wealthy good life at wealthygoodlife.com. Back in a sec to dig deeper into the entrepreneurial mindset and how to use it in any career. We've talked about all these traits, these challenges, and I'm thinking about people who, maybe aren't ready to start their own thing, but still, they want that entrepreneurial spirit.
Hmm.
Can you get that even if you work for someone else?
Oh, definitely. That's where entrepreneurship comes in. It's bringing that same drive, that creativity, the problem solving to whatever you're doing now.
So like being an entrepreneur, but inside a company.
Exactly. Taking initiative, seeing what can be better, coming up with new solutions, being proactive, not waiting for orders, but looking for how to add value, make a difference.
I like that. So you got to run the whole show to make an impact.
Right. And those skills, they're gold in any job.
Hmm.
Employers want people who take charge, who think differently, who go above and beyond.
It's like be the one who solves the problem, not just points it out.
Yeah. Challenges are opportunities, not roadblocks. Be the one with solutions, not just complaints.
So for our listeners who are like, okay, but how do I know if I have that spark? What advice would you give them?
Start with looking at yourself. Really think about your strengths, what you're not so good at, what you're passionate about, your values, what gets you going, what are you naturally drawn to, what kind of impact do you want to have?
Like take stock of your inner entrepreneur. See what's already there, ready to go.
Exactly. And then think about your experiences, good and bad. What'd you learn? What are you good at? Where do you need to improve? How comfortable are you with risk, with things being uncertain?
Because entrepreneurship, it's not always easy, right? You got to be tough. You got to be able to handle the rough times.
Absolutely. But even if starting your own thing isn't right for you now, that entrepreneurial way of thinking, it's still valuable. It's about always learning, looking for new challenges, ways to grow.
And finding the good stuff, the fulfillment along the way, no matter where you end up. So seasoned entrepreneur or just starting to think about it, remember it's about chasing your passions, taking on challenges, making a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And if you're looking for more on building a wealthy, good life, check out wealthygoodlife.com.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into entrepreneurship. Hope you found it helpful, inspiring. Remember, wherever you are in your journey, keep learning, keep growing, keep chasing those passions.
And don't be afraid to embrace the challenges, take those smart risks. You never know what you might accomplish.
Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Good Life podcast. We'll catch you next time.